Oh, 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 God. Thank you. Oh, my God. Thank you.
I'm tired of hearing your voice.
Oh, you can't get rid of me that easily. Come on now. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new movie review where we talk about Insidious, The Last Key. And,
let's give them a little continuity if they're not familiar with the series where this movie takes place.
Okay, let's do that, yes.
Well, this movie, this is the fifth installment? Fifth?
This is the fourth.
The fourth installment. And if you've watched the last three movies, the first two are set in order, at least timeline-wise. The third one is a
prequel.
Well, this one is technically the prequel.
Well, it's a prequel. Well, it's a... God, this is getting real confusing.
This is the prequel before the last one.
Yes.
No, wait.
Hold on a second. No.
Well, this is a partial prequel, because the last one... This movie takes place... You get the backstory of the main character halfway throughout the film, so...
It's a sequel-prequel.
Yeah.
Because it takes place after the third film, so it's a sequel to that, but it's a prequel to 1 and 2. Hope you guys aren't confused, because I know we sure are.
This is... I like seeing movies that, you get the backstory of a main character, especially in a horror franchise or sci-fi, whatever.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to do a prequel or something, it's just try to do it after the first movie or the second film.
You know what? I will say this. Actually, you and I have seen all of these Insidious movies together in the theater.
Well, we could also say, before we even get to this part, this is our first official film for 2018.
Yes, this is our first official film for 2018. Yes, so, and conveniently, it's a horror film, so, why not? But, look, that first Insidious film, I liked the first half, and the second half got very hokey, and I look back on it, and I would still like it if I kind of went back and watched it again, but the second half got a little bit hokey for me. The second movie I loved a lot. I thought second movie was great.
You get to learn about the further, you get to learn more about the further, what it's like in there and all that.
Well, you got explanation, which I liked. And the third one, I really liked a lot because, of course, we got more backstory, got more character with Elise and everything like that.
You see other parts of the further that you didn't see before.
And I felt like each film has sort of gotten better as it's went along. And this is a rarity for a franchise. Usually franchises decrease over time. This one has actually gotten better.
Look at what you got. You got Lynn Shay, is Elise the Psychic.
She's been in all of them, and she's done a great job.
I think she's probably the flaw. Her and the two boys, Spencer and Tucker.
Spencer and Tucker, yes.
They're the trio. I can't see these movies without them.
I can't see them either, and they sort of go hand in hand now, pretty much.
This movie, like you said, it's the fourth installment. It's like, where else can we go from here? And they went into a new direction.
I will say this much. What's really interesting about this film, more than any of the other films, is that this film is definitely telling you about the character of Elise, Lynn Shay. You
get to see her origin, her past.
This is technically her backstory film. And, it's really effective. It really works. And
you wonder why when you first see Elise in the first movie, you can tell she's sort of sheltered, and, you get a lot of reasons why in this film.
Yes, you get those reasons why, and I think those reasons work really well. It's tough to say, sort of, because I kind of, without spoiling anything, I kind of feel this is sort of the last film for this franchise.
Maybe for her character. The way that they hint toward this film, it could lead toward other characters.
It could lead towards other characters, it's possible, but if this film ends with this, I'm not against it. I think they did a really great job with this film.
It gives you kind of a completion, too.
It gives you a completion, too, and, you see Elise as a little child, you see her as sort of a teenager, you see where she came from, how sort of all the things that this character has been over those 3 films, you get it in this film of why she's the way she is. And I like that. I like that we get these information about this character over time. I think it works. I think the dynamic between the characters is great too.
Oh yeah.
I think her and of course Specs and Tucker, that dynamic is great. It lends from the first film that they did to the second, third, and this one. I think that's really good. I even think some of the new players that come into this film have some really great
like
stuff.
I said, these new characters could be potential offshoot of what she does.
It could spin it off. It could, relatively so. It could spin it off. As far as the actual villain itself in this, I mean, if you were to, because look, we've seen a lot of different villains in the Insidious franchise here. So, I mean, where does this one, in fact, if you were to say rank, I guess?
It's hard to say, because honestly, we don't get to see enough of the villain. In my opinion, I don't think we get to see enough of the villain itself. I mean, we get maybe like 10, 15 minutes.
If you get 10 minutes, it's being generous.
Right.
If you do.
I mean, most of the time throughout the film, she's leading through, what happened there. It's like A to B to C with this. I mean, by the time you get to C, that's when you really get the thorough thing with the main villain in this film.
You do. And my sort of impression about the villain is that I don't think they were really going for a really strong villain in this. They were more focusing on...
Like, this was the villain that led to the other villains for her to be a... her character is more like a psychic magnet.
She's sort of a conduit.
Yeah, she's just like drawing it all. She's like the center point where they just like they sense her and they find her.
Well, I mean,
because even in the movie they said that she has an extremely powerful gift.
She does, and that. But do you think this villain was the key to it all, as far as
I think he was the beginning of it all. He was the one that really started to really push her towards using her gift a lot more often.
Maybe, but then again, we've seen things in the other films of her helping out, Josh when he was a very young kid.
Yeah.
In a prequel thing back in I believe the second film.
I mean,
it was.
it's very. How would I say? Selective or very. It's very kind of fluid, because you could really say this was the first major push to start her.
Do you think that? Let me ask you this, because we kind of hinted at it a little bit, but. Do you think the timeline is a little bit confusing, or do you think that you could sort of watch these films and get it all?
Well, if you're going to watch, in my personal opinion, if you're going to watch these films, it's hard, because the last one and this one are kind of conflicting with I mean, if you were to do it in at the end to where you're going to start off, you can do at the end, you can do Insidious 2 and then 1. Then the first 2, that's going to be confusing.
Yeah, it's going to be real confusing.
Because if you don't know what happens in the third one, you don't know how it connects to the beginning of this one.
The other one, and timeline gets all messed up. Just watch it 1, 2, 3, 4, and figure it out as you go along.
We always have the same debate when it comes to stuff like a major one like Star Wars. Where do we go with that? How do we start it?
And of course, everybody has different opinions about it. Relatively, the timeline isn't really terrible. I will say this, the timeline, if you're thinking this is taking place in 2017, 2018, you're wrong, because it takes place in 2010, because we got to be around the same type of timeline that we were, before certain things happened in the first Insidious film, so you got to think of timeline-wise.
Be a lot older than they are.
Yeah, so you kind of have to, in your mind, sort of backtrack a little bit, but I don't think it's that terrible.
No. But then again, don't forget, in the further time and space don't mean a thing.
Well, that's true also. So, I mean, that's an interesting as well. I mean, look, as far as the villain concept, I will tell you something. Do I think this beats the villain from the third film? No, I don't.
No.
I think the villain from the third one was really effective.
Mm-hmm.
Does it beat the the sort of cross-dressing man from like part one, or
the Black Bride.
The Black Bride.
Not in my opinion.
Not in my opinion. I think probably if you were to say, it's probably the lesser of all of them. But
yeah, even the Darth Maul, whatever you want to call it.
Man, that Darth Maul looking motherfucker. Let me tell you right now.
If they were going to do a demon fight, my money would be on him.
And we never got a whole film about him.
Who knows? That could be Insidious 5.
It could be Insidious 5, Revenge of Darth Maul's cousin. it could. I'd be down to see it. I'm not gonna lie.
You see the family from the first one. Oh, it's all nice and day. Let's have our orange juice day. What's that behind you?
It's like, what? Oh my
God! That last scare. Which one was it? Was it in 2?
What?
Where the demon head pops out like the last second.
Oh, I thought that was
scared
one.
the crap out of me. I was like, oh, the movie's nice and done. It's all nice and peaceful. Then,
yeah, and I'm like, oh my God.
Holy crap!
What did you think about the scares? I mean, this is a horror movie, what did you think about the scares?
I don't know. I think the scares. It's getting kind of. The scares are getting kind of predictable, generic. I mean, there's like one part where she's in a dark tunnel and kind of know where it was going. I mean, if it wasn't behind something, it's like right in front of her until the last moment where she sees it.
I mean, I will say this much. I do think that in this film, we don't get as many effective scares as I think we've gotten in the other films. Maybe we're used to it by this point. Maybe, we see them coming early. I mean, who knows? I mean,
it's hard to come up with good scares nowadays. I mean, you gotta come up with something realistic.
You honestly do. I will say this much: there's no real jump scares or anything. So
the last movie I really got jump scared, and this was a while ago. It had to be, I forget which one it was. I don't know if it was the first or second one. I think it was one of the Conjuring movies.
Oh, I think, yeah, I think.
They got my heart pumping, that's for sure. I think it was the first one, because there's a part where she's like in the bedroom trying to, keep her sister all nice and calm. And the next minute, there's like some kind of demon child or demon person on top of a closet that jumps down to try to attack her. I'm like, holy crap.
I will say this much. I as far as an effective horror movie, I don't think this is really an effective horror movie. I think you have to look at this movie more as just an extension of the franchise at this point, and not really as a scary movie. Even though it's supposed to be a scary movie, it's not as effective as I think it should be.
I mean, it's not like it was. I mean, it wasn't a bad movie. I mean,
no,
I thought it was a decent enough movie to watch through.
I thought it was decent for what it was.
Compared to some of the horror that they play nowadays, especially on Netflix, this movie knocked it out of the
I mean, it's
park.
better than a lot of the other stuff that we've seen in the past. I mean, it's better than Jeepers Creepers 3.
Oh my God, that's the first time I've ever heard you admit something about that.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, it's better than the Leatherface movie we saw. It's better than that.
Lucky our pal John's not here. He could rant about that all night.
Yeah, I know he could. I mean, honestly, there's not a lot of great horror movies anymore. There's selective horror movies, but not really anything great.
I think it's story and characters. I mean, if you don't have a good actor or actress playing it, it's not going to work.
Well, yeah, and I think that's really the thing about it. But this movie is effective because of Lin Shaye.
Mm-hmm.
Lin Shaye makes it effective, and I think that's what makes this film and this franchise special.
And you got some other decent actors too, other than the main three. You got Spencer Locke from she was in one of the Resident Evil movies. I forget which one.
You have Lee Winnell, who of course has written all of these Insidious movies. He directed the third one. Mm-hmm. He's of course back in this as Specs, of course, but he was also in the Saw franchise as well, and wrote some of those also. I mean, you also have Kirk Acevedo.
Yeah, we loved him in Fringe.
And of course he was in, I believe, Oz as well.
Yep. And I forget who played the brother.
Oh,
the character for Lisa.
Oh, Bruce Davison.
Yep.
Davison did that, and he
doesn't
did.
he doesn't have a major role, but he does well enough for what he has. So.
Yes, he does well. So there's some decent actors in this. There is, and I mean, what other sort of small, minor things did you want to talk about before we get to the final?
I personally like. I mean, if you seen the trailers, you're not really spoiling anything. She has to go back to her old home.
Yes, her old home.
Which I will give. I mean, it's not a major spoiler. It's just a tiny bit spoiler. Where she grows up, she lived in it was near
It was a house basically almost connected to the prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her father probably was like one of the security guards or something like that.
Yeah, he was one of the main security guards, yes.
I'm like, if she's going to be seeing ghosts anywhere, it's definitely going to be around where she lives.
Yes, and I thought the setting was really effective too. You actually, thank you for bringing it up. It's actually really effective because the look of the prison to there's these like spinning.
I think they use those for like pumping out oil and that.
Yeah, pumping out oil and
surprised
everything.
they're still working after that long.
I know. I mean, I thought those were really effective. I thought the setting was effective. I thought the house was really creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought a lot of that stuff was really effective. So I do actually appreciate, what they were trying to go for.
Authenticity of
the authenticity of it. I do appreciate that. Yes.
I mean, you can pretty much the way that they had the home and all that stuff from where she lives, you can pretty much tell it definitely has still got the look of a town from the 50s and all that.
One that hasn't really changed and the one that hasn't really grown with the times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so I do think that's actually really, really effective. I do agree with you. Other than those things, I mean, what's your final thoughts and grade rating on Insidious: The Last Key? Sir?
Well, I mean, it is the fourth. It makes you wonder if it's really going to start the progress for these films to start to degrade with time.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, I won't say it was the perfect movie. I mean, horror films nowadays are not easy to do, like we said.
No.
I mean, it was decent enough to watch through. I mean, half the horror films I watch now, I just get bored within like the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, if they go the way that they could potentially go, I mean, they could do a spin-off series.
There's a potential for it, yes.
I mean, if they were to do another one, I would like to see if they were going to form like another team. They should get, I won't say a lot more, but like maybe one or two more. I won't say like psychics like
Lin Shaye?
Yeah, like Lin Shaye's character Elise is, but like they do it in a way that's sort of different from what she does.
Okay.
Like they do like a possession thing or something like that to connect to the spirits or whatever.
Okay.
But if they were going to form another team, I'd have like at least one other character like that and someone more like Elise's character.
All right.
So like it's like a double jeopardy thing half the time.
All right, that makes sense.
But overall, I mean, I think this franchise, I won't say it's getting weak or like super weak, but it's kind of hard to come up with new storylines when it's almost a little bit similar in every movie.
Yeah, you are right. You're right about that.
I mean, if you're gonna do anything, have like a character like die and their soul's like condemned in the further, but you're trying to help them get released or whatever. I mean, from what we've seen in the further, it's always dark, and even the good characters are still in there somewhere. I'm like, they gotta go to a place that's beyond that.
Well, we hope. I mean, maybe they...
or at least hint towards something like that.
Something like that.
But overall, I mean, I thought the movie was watchable, and I'd have to give it probably about average B. It'd be on the borderline between a B minus. It'd be like right on the dot. It'd probably be leaning toward more B.
A B?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I think if this is the last one, I think it's actually probably a good thing it's the last one, because to be honest with you, I think these movies have gotten better with each installment, but I do think that with this installment, it feels like, let's wrap this up. It's not as scary as the other ones, and it almost feels like we're running out of ideas to a certain extent. And where it ends, no spoilers of course, but it ends in a way of saying hey, look, we told you what this story is, and it comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciated that. I think the acting is great. I think Lin Shaye is still very effective as Elise. Everyone does a great job with it. And I think for 4 solid films of the Insidious franchise, it's pretty solid horror franchise for the most part. I would give this film probably a low B-.
We're not too far.
We're not too far off. I'm a little more closer to C+ range, but not that much because I still think it's a pretty decent horror film for the most part. But I am curious though. Between you and I, who would be the Specs and who'd be the Tucker?
I don't want to be the mullet guy. Come on.
Well, you're more of the Tucker. Let's be honest with you. I'm more of the Specs guy. Let's be honest.
Without
really.
spoiling in this movie, he knows how to be a creepy in a whole new level.
True, but you know, Specs gets the girl, man. You know.
I hate Specs. If you're Specs, you gotta wear the glasses.
I got glasses.
You
I'll
can
wear
grow
them.
out the mullet.
I'm cool. No, you're more of the mullet guy.
No. I'd shave my head bald first.
All right, everybody. That'll do it for the review. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up. And we will be back next time for another movie review.
It's time to go back to the further. Till next time.